Welcome to Monsters Multiclass. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And in our very first video episode, we'll be diving into all the sorcerer changes in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So let's get into it.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So this is video now, which I guess if you're watching it as a video, you obviously know. But if you're on the podcast and you want to see our beautiful faces while we talk about this, kind of condensed into each of their own individual segments, then head on over to our YouTube, Monsters and Multiclass, and you can do that. So more
we'll
options.
Also put relevant information on the screen. If we talk about a spell, here's the spell.
Right.
And then, you can just stare at us and see me fight my cat off from crawling on my keyboard in front of the camera for the next hour and a half. That would be fun. It's fun for me. And I have a feeling this first video will have a big spike in views, as all of our listeners jump on here to see, do we look like how they picture in our head? And then it's probably no. And then they're just going to go back to the podcast.
Or
that's what I would do.
They'll be so impressed by how beautiful we are.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's get into the episode. What we're going to be talking about today to start is the Sorcerer, all of the class feature changes, as well as the new subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So usually we start with first thoughts, but I don't think this one is as important to get beginning thoughts on as compared to the Ranger, which had all these changes and all these things that we were excited about. The Sorcerer optional class features are really small, and the subclasses, well, we'll talk about them individually. So why bother? So to get right into it, starting with the optional class features is the level 1 Sorcerer Abilities, where they get some new spells. Ooh, new spells. So these are just optional ones that the sorcerers can get. They're not automatically added to them. The subclasses do get some of that ability where they just get new free spells. But honestly, from this spell list, which they get basically just a bunch of ones from Tasha's. Yeah, it's just a bunch of spells, different options. Nothing that I really found too substantial or worth diving into, besides maybe the fact that they get stuff like Bigby's Hand. Bigby's Hand is a cool and good spell, so that's good. But otherwise, this doesn't change the Sorcerer in any way.
The fact they get Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade, which honestly I thought they had.
They did. I don't think that's new.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Yeah.
It's listed on here.
Okay, so this is important.
It's changed.
So the Skag Sword Coast Adventure Guide is no longer Adventure League legal, and Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade and a couple of other ones in here were only printed in the Skag. So they reprinted all of those spells in order to, get rid of any Adventure League confusion.
Got it. Okay. I actually did not know that it was no longer legal, but that makes sense. Otherwise, two versions of a spell.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, right. That does not. I was correct on that. They already get that. Sorcerer getting more spells is just nice. That's always a common complaint. They don't have access to a lot of spells. Here's some more.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel super strongly about this.
Nope.
I mean, it's just it's kind of nice.
The only
not much
thing
to complain about.
Only thing is now you guys can just burn your Sword Coast Adventure Guide. You weren't using it before, so it'll make good kindling.
I don't think they even printed it.
I think
Yeah, they did. I own it.
They did?
Yeah, I own it too. It's on my shelf, yeah. It's real thin. Yeah, long. Yeah, real thin.
Yeah. They just made it in a night. Just wrote it all out.
But I've definitely that was prior to this the only place with Booming Blade, right?
Yes. And
so I definitely used it a lot. Green Flame Blade and Blade Singer and
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, the favorite fighter subclass, Purple Dragon Knight.
Dragon Knight. Oh yeah. One we talk about all the time.
So they're just they just deleted that subclass basically by saying, that's not really legal anymore, but we're not going to reprint it. Just ignore it forever.
So some of the new spells and Tasha's that they get are nice, like Mind Sliver. But I guess we're later on talking about the spells specifically, so we can just cover it then.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Because otherwise, again, they're just spell options. So, wizards get these too.
Right.
But Big B's Hand. That's a good spell. All right, so at 3rd level, they get some new meta magic options. The first one being Seeking Spell. So if you make an attack roll for a spell and miss, you can spend 2 sorcery points to reroll the d20, and you must use the new roll. And you can layer this on with other meta magic options as well. I think this is like a mechanically sound ability, but personally I'm not too excited by it, and I don't think it beats out any of the other mechanically strong abilities that meta magic offers.
Yeah, it's tough to really like it. 2 sorcery points is steep.
Yeah.
Maybe need to be 1 or something. And then it's basically giving you advantage on an attack roll. And usually for like spells, the really big stuff that you want to land are generally saving throws.
Right.
Yeah, again, like 2 sorcery points to get advantage on a firebolt. Like, I don't know, that's worth it. I'd rather quicken that firebolt and do something else, or...
Exactly.
Whatever. Like, what are the other big ones? There's Disintegrate, which is a dex save, correct?
Yep.
Obviously Fireball's a dex save.
Everything.
I mean, there's Chromatic Orb, I think, is an attack. But
sure.
That's still not, like, crazy. Toll the Dead is high for a cantrip, but it's a save. I mean...
If you want to upcast Chromatic Orb at, like, 7th level, and you really need it to hit because you're wasting your spell slot, yeah, this will probably be a good use. But otherwise, I don't get it. I don't get what the whole hope was here, and I don't see this being chosen over any other option. As we mentioned in our Sorcerer remix episode that we released a couple months ago, whatever, one of the big issues with Sorcerers is that they have so few options with their meta magic. They get 2 to start at 3rd level, and then a 3rd one at 10th, and a 4th one at 17th, that you're really limited in which ones you take. I just can't imagine giving up something like Careful, or Empowered, or Quickened, or Twinned, yeah, like all of these ones that are not just good mechanically, but also more interesting. This just gives you advantage, as you said, and that's good, but not that exciting.
Yeah, and just for 1 attack. So there's like Scorching Rays. That's a good damage spell.
Yeah.
That sorcerers get for you roll to hit, but you roll for every individual. Like you create 3 of them, I think, and then if you upcast it, you create more. But you roll for every single missile, so to speak.
Right.
And so this one, 2 sorcery points to reroll 1 of those.
So I'll just say, overall, Seeking Spell, not super impressed. Then next we have the Transmuted Spell. So when you cast a spell that deals a type of damage from the following list, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change that damage type to one of the others listed, which is acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder. This is a cool ability. Still kind of a lot to take a meta magic spot.
Yeah, this one's at least more flavorful.
Yeah.
If you want to play that sorcerer that's able to just manipulate magic and stuff like that. I mean, it works. It will definitely have its uses, and being able to do like a fireball that's lightning damage or something, I think would be cool.
Yeah.
The other thing is one thing this is big for is avoiding immunities and resistances is the obvious one, but chasing vulnerabilities as well. So, like, say you've got constructs that are made out of glass, and you're like, I want to do thunder damage. You might not have thunder damage. Now you do.
Right. Now, vulnerabilities...
And that's huge.
Vulnerabilities just don't come up that much, so I think it'll definitely be more ignoring resistances and things like that. The ability to have Fireball, which, fire is probably the first or second most resisted thing due to devils, I believe, that are all resistant to fire and poison.
Demons, too.
Demons? Okay. Being able to use Fireball on them... I don't think so. He's crazy, but we just nod your head and agree. Being able to get around those resistances, and with sorcerers not being able to prepare different spells, makes you feel less dumb for taking Fireball when you go to the 9 hells.
Definitely. I think this will get picked a lot more than Seeking Spell.
Yes.
And also the fact it's just one sorcery point is very nice. It is somewhat situational, though. But then again, like, so is Twinned and Quickened and Heightened, and those also cost more, if I remember correctly. So I could see this one being used, or especially a pick later on, like one of the higher levels, when you get another meta magic option, pick this one.
And this, I think, above all, is something that people want from the sorcerer. People will frequently say, like, oh, I want an elemental sorcerer, one who just focuses on a single element. And it's basically impossible unless you choose fire, because fire has a lot of good damage spells. You even get, well, I guess they get Fire Shield now, but either way, this allows you to say, like, well, I'm going to be a cold-based sorcerer. Great. Now you have a way forward with that. You can get your cool damage spells and not worry about just using Chromatic Orb for everything, because that lets you choose.
Right. Or this would be a really great pick for a Storm Sorcerer, where they get boosted for lightning damage and thunder damage.
Yeah.
And I remember talking through that in previous episodes, where they're kind of limited on what they could really pick to take advantage of those skills. This will help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not the Storm Sorcerer, it is picking flavor over mechanics, I think, but that's fine, because all your sorcery points are going to be dumped into just changing your spell to fit your character concept. But I mean, that's okay. If that's what you want to do, and things are balanced around that, that's fine.
I don't think it'll be all your sorcery points, but definitely a couple, depending on, I guess, which one you do.
Yeah, like if you're under level 10, if you're level 6, you got 6 of them. It's not a whole lot. Also, though, I'm pretty sure, let me double check here, the Dragon Sorcerer, they get benefits to an elemental damage type, right? Draconic Bloodline. Yeah, you choose a Draconic Ancestry, which gives you a damage type.
It's Elemental Affinity at 6th level.
Yeah, when you cast a spell, it deals the damage of the type associated with your ancestry. You can add your Charisma modifier to 1 damage of that roll.
So,
yeah.
That's actually a great combination then with it.
Yeah.
I think Draconic Bloodline's already one of the better sorcery origins, in my opinion. So
yeah.
That is, I would definitely consider taking Transmuted if I was going that route.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, Draconic or Storm. Any of the other ones, I don't think they have like specific
elemental stuff. Nope, not at all.
Right, because this doesn't do Psychic, right? No,
nope.
Psychic's not one of the things. Okay, because I say the Aberrant Mind, which is, we'll get to in a minute here, is Psychic, but
yeah. So then next is at 4th level they get Sorceress Versatility, so they can just change their meta magic options when they hit ability score improvements, as well as changing out cantrips, and that's basically it. I personally think that meta magic should be changed at like a long rest, so I don't think this does enough. But we talked about that in the Sorcerer Remix thing, and I'm going to keep probably bringing up the fact that I hate the way meta magic works, but at least this gives an option where before they had no option.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm good with meta magic changing on a long rest. And at the very least, if somebody is like playing a sorcerer and is like, hey, I'm not really using this, can I just change that? And I was the DM, it'd just be absolutely.
Right.
But it's just like, and the Ranger and really all of them have some sort of versatility thing added like this. If you're playing like Adventure League or something, it does need to be written in there. So that's good. The option's there. And then same with cantrips. Someone like, hey, we're 3 levels in, I haven't used this cantrip, can I just change it? It's like, yeah, that's fine.
So then at 5th level they can get Magical Guidance. So this is, you can tap into the inner wellspring of magic to try and conjure success from failure. When you make an ability check that fails, you can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll the d20, and you must use the new roll, potentially turning the failure into a success. So that's pretty nice. I mean, just as a ability to re-roll ability checks for 1 sorcery point.
Yeah,
cool.
It just falls. So the problem with Sorcerer that I feel like we keep running into is their sorcery points feel pretty limited, and here's just another use for it. And so, like, you don't have to use it. Obviously, it's not like forcing you to do it. So the option is nice when you really need to pass an ability check. but it's I think, you know what? Nah, I was gonna be down on this, but it's a free thing added in, and you can do it or not do it. And like when you need it, when you really need to pass that ability check, this will be fantastic.
It doesn't.
I was gonna say it's like, oh, I'd rather save it for meta magic, but you know there's gonna be situations where you fail your stealth check, and it's like, holy crap, I really needed to pass that.
It doesn't fix the sorcerer, but it's not bad. It's just not that interesting. I'm all right with it though. I'm with you. I think it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And that's it. Say that's all of the optional feature changes. Ranger had ones going up to like 10th level and completely reworked the class. This one, not so much. I'm a little disappointed, if I'm being honest. I would have liked a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. Sorcerer is kind of one of those. We did a whole episode on it.
Right.
What things are wrong with the Sorcerer? So if you haven't watched that or listened to that, go back and find it. But yeah, I was hoping for more of a rewrite, like replace some features, like the Ranger did, things like that.
So that's it. Sorcerers,
Never gonna happen.
You don't think?
No, it's too hard to change things in place. If you look at the Sorcerer, they are completely subclass loaded. Like the concept of the class is the core issue we have. There's like a hard nugget of issue with it that just can't be removed without like completely throwing it out.
I don't know. I feel like a optional variant in how they get their sorcery points isn't so impossible. Yeah, everybody's talked about like making at 3rd level you have 5, at 5th level you have 7, like making it at a certain level you go up a step instead of it being 1-to-1 on your level. That's something they could easily implement. But
yeah,
you
that's
think
a
that would
table
be
change.
Yeah, exactly. A table change is not that big of a deal. And I know that the answer is always, well, if you think that's a good option, then just homebrew it. Yes, of course. But, that's not what we're here for.
I say, yeah. And if people pay money for the books and the content, and then they think something failed a bit, it's like, it just seems kind of like a lazy answer to it.
Right.
I just homebrew the problem away, and then especially Adventure League or people not understand the implications of homebrews and blah, 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 blah.
Right. Okay, so let's get into the new Sorceress Origins. So we have the Aberrant Mind and the Clockwork Soul. Gonna start with the Aberrant Mind. Heard a lot of good things about this subclass, and that it's basically the new Sorcerer meta. And I'm going to blow that up immediately. This is not that. I don't agree. But the flavor of it's pretty cool. It's basically like the Great Old One as a sorcerer subclass, where they have some alien influence wrapping its tendrils around your mind, and they give you psionic powers. Cool.
Yeah. People love psionics, and I know a lot of players were upset when it was announced they will not have a dedicated psionics class. It'll be subclasses, so this is kind of one of them. So I see why people are excited about it and like the flavor.
And it is good flavor. So I don't know if I have much more to add onto it beyond just like, yeah, that's cool. It's new. It's unique. I like that. It doesn't feel like this is just a reprint of another subclass's flavor. That's a win.
Yep. It also kind of has a sort of curse vibe to it. A lot of the other sorcerer stuff is like, you're the chosen one. You have a dragon in your family, and so you're more powerful. This is stuff like you once suffered a dominating powers of an aboleth, leaving a psychic splinter in your mind. And so it gives you powers, but if you probably want to roleplay that up and have the person be kind of, a little damaged.
Right.
Have some struggles.
Yeah, gives some tortured
like
souls
that.
vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have this whole origins table of you could roll on and pick from there, or obviously make your own, but it's just interesting stuff.
Not as good as the which
Shadow
Magic Sorcerer. Yeah.
That
still has the best quirks table, but
yeah,
that's
you blinked
okay.
once 3 days ago. Your heart beats once a minute. This is frequently an occurrence that frightens you.
Still the best. All right, so then Psionic Spells is what they get at 1st level. So they diverge from previous sorcerer subclasses because they actually get some free spells. This is new, and overall was regarded as a good thing because they get more spell options. I personally don't care, and still don't think that the problem with sorcerers is the amount of spells they get as options, but besides the point, everybody else is happy about this, so I guess it's a good thing. At first level... Oh, go ahead.
Why don't you care? So, these are automatically added spells.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a list you could pick from. You now just get these.
Correct. I just don't think it fixes the sorcerer in the way that people think it does. Like, I feel like that's like the big complaint people have about sorcerers is that they just don't have enough spell options or like known spells. I just don't think that's the problem at all.
Yeah, that's fair. It starts to step on wizard territory.
Right.
Where sorcerers are kind of supposed to be, less spells, but you can manipulate them and make them more powerful through meta magic. Which, it goes back to
actually
boosting meta magic.
I did feel when I was playing a sorcerer for an extended period of time, I was like, I really have a shallow pool of spells, and it's kind of annoying me.
I mean, that was your fault. This was the Phoenix. This was the Phoenix Sorcerer, which I don't think ever made it out of the UA.
No.
And to your credit, you completely lean into that character concept, and you picked nothing but fire spells. And then,
but I couldn't pick all of them, Kevin. I couldn't pick all of them.
Uh-huh.
I'm not.
But even so, it's still just not that many spells.
No, I'm not against them getting these spells for free. It's not a bad thing. I don't think that it really does enough to.
No, I mean,
does enough. That's it.
And
it just doesn't.
The
do
other
enough.
issue is like part of the reason these issues exist is because Wizards of the Coast wanted to create these distinctions in these classes, and now they're kind of almost abandoning them and just kind of piling stuff on, which makes the game more fun. But I do kind of miss the differences.
Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean?
So, like, the idea of these, like, the Sorcerer didn't get these pots of spells. Both of these add new pots of spells. That's, same with a Warlock, and that's stepping on Wizard's territory. It's just, like, kind of piling more on where what they were saying, like Kevin said, they want you to be better at these spells, not have a deeper pool.
Right.
So the distinction's fading for better or for worse.
Yeah. Yep, that's fair to say. They do get some great spells at first level, for what it's worth. Arms of Hadar is a great damage spell. Dissonant Whispers is a good spell. Mind Sliver is a good spell. And that one's a cantrip. So the other ones are first level spells. All of them are good, fitting to the class. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And then the second part of this, I think, is really odd. I think it's a overall boost to sorcerers, but also then goes back to what Will was saying. Very much starting to kind of mix the classes where I don't know if I quite agree this is the direction I'd want to see it. Whereas when you gain a sorcerer level, you could replace one of the spells you gain from this feature with another spell at the same level. The new spell must be divination or an enchantment spell, and it can be from the sorcerer, warlock, or wizard spell list. That's kind of nuts. I mean, that obviously does really open up their available spells. It is limited by spell type, so that's
right.
Nice, but it goes back to I'd rather see them do something to tweak and improve meta magic or sorcery points than just say, you can just start taking wizard spells now.
Exactly.
It feeds into exactly what Will was just saying. I don't know if it's my favorite direction.
Yeah, and then they're going to add a Sorcerer Origin in the future that's like, oh, you get ritual casting, and you can get a spell book, and it's like, well, this is just a wizard now, so what's the point, So, I don't know. I'm pretty disappointed in all of that, to be honest. I saw a lot of praise for it, and this idea of like, well, let's go back to the old sorcerers and give them spell pools to choose from, and sorcerer's great now, and I just
let's not do that.
I just gonna keep hammering that home until I get what I want, which is just I need something to change the meta magic. Going forward, though, 3rd level, they get Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts. 5th, they get Hunger of Hadar and Sending. 7th, they get Evard's Black Tentacles and Summon Aberration. And 9th, they get Rary's Telepathic Bond and Telekinesis. All of these are fitting for a psionic feel, as well as a tentacle thing. I guess tentacles and psionics, for some reason, go together. maybe?
It's
where they
the
come
great
from.
old one stuff. It's
Right.
psionics. It's like the connection to the far realm and the great old ones, and mind flayers,
Sure.
which are probably I think they're lores. They came from the far realm, but that was just for the video watchers. For all of you podcasters, just a little treat there to go check out the video. Jared just did a tentacle thing with his hands. It's not worth it.
Man, Kevin, you're selling it so hard.
Oh yeah. Hey man, we're not in marketing. We're in talking about D&D in too much in depth.
All right, yeah. So I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that overlap for whatever reason. Fine. First level, they get telepathic speech. Go into that. So this allows them to communicate telepathically with one creature within 30 feet of them as a bonus action for like a minute. Oh, and then they can be up to a couple of miles away after that. It lasts, like a couple of minutes, equal to your sorcerer level. And you have to share a language still. And if you get incapacitated or die, the connection is severed. There's no limit to how many times you can do this. So, telepathic connection. That's it. I hate this ability. This is not a good first level ability.
No, it's really not. Like wild magic, they're getting the wild magic table and the Tides of Chaos to give themselves advantage. The draconic sorcerer is getting their draconic resilience. This is a ribbon ability.
Yeah, at first level. Which is
yeah.
Fine for some classes. For like the rogue, sure. For the sorcerer, what?
Yeah. First level is kind of a big one.
In defense of this.
No. Not allowed.
Yes. Shut up. Yes. It is a nice ribbon. It's a thing we use this every time someone has it. Every friggin' time. It's like, it'd be great? Walkie-talkies.
Sure. So, if it allowed you to talk to your entire party by allowing you to form this telepathic communication with up to your charisma modifier, then we'd be in business. But instead, it's a single creature for a certain amount of time. And yes, I guess you could just play telephone where you are the central line and everybody just, bounces their ideas back to you. And you're just like, okay, well then I form a telepathic bond with Kevin, and Kevin and I talk. And okay, now that you told me that, I'm going to now form a telepathic bond with this person and give them that information, and then we're going to talk.
But they have to be within 30 feet, so that doesn't even work.
Well, I mean,
right.
You need a network of aberrant sorcerers.
Right.
Each acting as nodes and hubs.
I mean, seriously, I honestly want to just scrap that entirely and just say, you can just speak telepathically with your friends.
Yeah.
That'd be a shorter paragraph, right?
There's definitely some weirdness in how it's handled, because you have to be within 30 feet to start it, but then it could stretch out to the number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, which will be higher.
Sure, good for
but
scouting.
But it only lasts... What?
Good for scouting, I guess.
Yeah, but it only lasts for a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. So it's they have to be within 30 feet, and then let's say you got 20 charisma, so could go up to 5 miles away, and you're level 8 at that point if you got 20 charisma. So they have 8 minutes of communication. You're not getting 5 miles in 8 minutes.
What are you talking about? It's great for when you want to teleport 5 miles away and keep the telepathic bond. Just get rid of that. Get rid of the limitation at all, because then at least you can have this. Maybe I could see a scenario where somebody is teleporting somewhere and they're not sure how safe it is. So you form the telepathic bond, they bamf to the other side of the world, they give the all clear, and then everyone comes over. That's reasonable. That's a good use.
Yeah.
A portal
narrow,
to the unknown.
But...
How about that?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more broad. Where it's we have to walk through this door. I don't know where this door is going to lead. Let's form a bond. And regardless of where you go, we'll be able to talk telepathically. That's useful.
Yeah. But so does the sending spell. And I know that's a 4th level spell. and I think it has a material opponent that costs
Third.
money, if I remember. It's
Third level. No materials.
Okay. So it has more of a cost than just like a free thing you could do like this, but I mean, it's dedicated an entire class feature, and what usually just like balancing it to the other subclasses is a major level for them, where they kind of get like a really solid ability for basically what could be beaten by with a cantrip. Let's not forget about the existence of the message cantrip.
I think you have to say the words for message out loud.
You point your finger toward a creature within range and whisper a message. The target and only the target hears the message and can reply in a whisper that only you could hear.
Oh. So you
Yeah,
whisper
and it has a 120-foot range. It's one action. It's a cantrip.
Yeah.
You could cast it through solid objects if you're familiar with the target and know it beyond the barrier. Magical silence, 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of metal. The usual stuff does block it. It doesn't have to follow a straight line and can travel freely around corners and through openings. So, in most situations, the message cantrip would just take up for it. Though it is an action to cast, so like in the middle of combat.
I'm
That
not
is a
trying
problem.
to whisper shit to my buds in the middle of combat. I'm just not.
Yeah.
There's no information that I need to keep secret and let the other person who I'm attacking not know. They're trying to kill me. At this point, they're not going to try and kill me more.
Right. And most tables will allow that kind of free sort of strategy discussion, as in, like, this is amongst the players, not the characters, to try and represent that, like, hey, these characters are hardened adventurers who live and breathe this all day while we're not, so that's kind of how you bridge that gap, by just allowing the strategy talk. So I guess if you're at a table where the DM was really, really strict on that, and anything the player said, the character said, and so you need to be careful about giving away what you were going to do, this might come up.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
It doesn't, but
If you're not having fun, the aberrant sorcerer might actually make it a little okay. Yeah, all right. I will actually retract that a little bit. I think this will get used a lot more than like you'd initially think, but I don't think it's ever going to actually help.
No. It's flavor. And that's it. And the first level sorcerer ability is not supposed to be flavor. You just said before this that the sorcerer subclasses are so heavily loaded, as the class itself, the core class, just isn't giving you too many interesting features. I don't like it.
Right.
And the only thing that I can think is that they viewed the later parts of the Aberrant Mind subclass to be so powerful that giving it a useful first level ability would have been unbalanced. So,
Or that these new
Or the
spells were another
spells.
thing.
or the spells, which, as I was saying a little bit ago, I do not think that your access to spells changes the class enough to make it better. You just have more options now. You're still limited to your sorcery points. You're still limited to your spell slots. Nothing has changed there. You just have more tools in your tool belt. So, let's get to the 6th level abilities. I got nothing else to say on that. I'm just mad about it.
Yeah.
But Psionic Sorcery is the 6th level ability that I think everybody is losing their minds about. So when you cast any spell of 1st level or higher from your Psionic Spells feature, you can cast it by expending a spell slot as normal or by spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. If you cast the spell using sorcery points, it requires no verbal or somatic components, and it requires no material components unless they're consumed by the spell. So I actually misread this when I was taking notes on it. That specifically says from your Psionic Spells feature, meaning that those are just the free ones you get. The Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers, Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts. Those ones you can cast for free using sorcery points.
Yeah, it's not all spells.
That's it.
Well, it casts for free using sorcery points.
Right. Using the resource that's extremely limited.
Right.
Just from like a pure math perspective, that is better to cast them using sorcery points than converting a spell into sorcery points. Because usually
that would be such a big fuck up if they did not.
Right.
That. Just like missed that.
Yeah. Like, oh, but if I convert, a 1st level spell slot into sorcery points and sorcery points into a spell slot, it's the same thing. Yeah. So I mean, like 1 sorcery point to cast Dissonant Whispers and have none of the no verbal component is cool, I guess.
I mean, I don't. We've used Dissonant Whispers a lot. It's a great spell. I don't think having to use a verbal component has ever once hampered a spell, unless you're in like a silence cone or sphere, whatever it is, like under the effects of the silence spell. That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I like the flavor.
Sure.
You're right, it doesn't really come up, but the idea of, like, if the person is completely bound and gagged, they can still cast these spells, which is kind of cool.
That is cool. I will give you that. And it does feel like a psionic ability. And I think I kind of missed that as well, because it once again doesn't give any explanation to the flavor. It doesn't say that because of X, Y, and Z you can do this. It just says you can do this.
Yeah. But you're just doing it with your mind.
Right. Yeah, I don't think this is that good either.
Yeah, because it gets very expensive to do it. I mean, you would basically be doing this over metamagic. It's one of those things. It's kind of like nice to have. Like occasionally, I'm sure it will come up. You're out of spell slots. Manage to not use all the sorcery points, and then this kind of gives you something to do with them. Because if you don't have like something like this to use your sorcery points for, and you are out of spell slots, but you still have sorcery points, like you didn't use them all up in metamagic, you're kind of... They're a little wasted, especially if you don't have enough to convert them back to a spell slot or something, so this is a more efficient way to use it. I do wonder, and it doesn't seem really clear, so within the Psionic Spells feature, it says you could replace these with any spell from the Warlock, Wizard, Sorcerer spell list. Does that still count as a spell from the Psionic Spell feature? And so then you could still cast it this way?
Yep.
Okay, that might have some better options. Especially because you have enchantment spells in here. So picking various like enchantment spells to try and impact how like a charm person or something like that do it without any chance of anyone seeing it. That's kind of the balance of those type of spells, where if it has like somatic components and you're trying to do it on the king in the middle of his court, like everyone around you is going to see you casting that spell. It shouldn't be okay. This is a way to hide all that.
Yeah, and there are actually some interesting options there from the wizard list. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, being able to cast that without any components sounds like actually it becomes a really useful out of combat spell. Whereas normally it would be like everybody sees you cast a spell and they're like, hey, that guy just did magic. Taking that away and just being able to incapacitate somebody and put them into a fit of laughter, great distraction. Great way to get around somebody that you don't want to kill, but you just need to get past. Hold Person falls under that list as well, which I don't know if getting rid of the verbal, somatic, and material components is as important, but being able to cast that for 2 sorcery points is pretty good.
Yeah. So we got Enchantment, and I was pulling them up here.
Yeah, I've just got Enchantment open. There's some good wizard options. Yes. Say there's spells that I would see being able to use more often being helpful. Like if I could use these all the time, great. I'm happy about that. But I just don't think it's that great.
Yeah. Yeah, it does come back to more of an out of combat thing. Like sleep as well.
Right.
It's in combat, it doesn't really matter. You usually if you need, like it's vocal, somatic, and material. And in combat, it's usually not going to matter too much.
Verbal, Kevin.
Yeah,
verbal. Thank you. Yeah. Out of combat, just with your mind, just being able to make someone fall asleep and nobody knows why. The kind of a stealth thing. It is starting to step on the toes of subtle spell though, because that's also kind of the point of subtle spell.
Shh. Stop that, Kevin. Stop. No, we're trying to find some good in this.
I think subtle spell still requires material, which is a pretty big blow to it. I'm pulling it up now. Subtle spell. When you cast a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to cast it without any somatic or verbal component. So it does still need material, so that's a limit. So I wouldn't call this like game breaking. I wouldn't call this the new meta of the sorcerer. Like it's not that great. It's nice. Right. It will have uses. Like if I played a Abromite Sorcerer, got to level 6, I'd use it. That's for sure. It's not going to be one of those skills that just sits there and doesn't get anything, but it's still using sorcery points, which are super limited.
I'm going to be immediately swapping out some of these spells, like Detect Thoughts and Calm Emotions that you get at 3rd level. Like those are getting kicked. There's much better 2nd level spells to get for 2 sorcery points.
Right.
So that's that one. You also, at 6th level, get Psychic Defenses. So you gain resistance to psychic damage and have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. That's
Fitting.
good. Yeah.
That's fine. It's not exciting, but it's good. I mean, psychic damage from monsters I don't think comes up a whole lot unless you're dealing with like mind flayers. Sure, I mean, no one's going to turn down a free resistance. And then the advantage on charmed or frightened. Great.
All right. 14th level is Revelation in Flesh. Oh, that's a edgy name right there. So this is actually pretty cool. So you can take a bonus action and spend 1 or more sorcery points to magically transform your body for 10 minutes. And you get a couple of different options, 4 different options to choose from. And again, for every sorcery point spent, you get to choose one of these. So the first one is you can see any invisible creatures within 60 feet of you. Your eyes also turn black or become writhing sensory tendrils. So just tentacles out the eyes.
Writhing, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I said. I just add ERs to everything. That's normal. Second one is you gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed, and you can hover. And your skin glistens with mucus or shines with otherworldly lighter. Oh, I did it again. Next, you gain a swimming speed equal to twice your walking speed and can breathe underwater, and you get some gills and some webbed hands and stuff. Last one is your body, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying, becomes slimy and pliable, and you can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch without squeezing, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or being grappled. So these are situational, but I think they're good situational.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have so many options.
Yeah, I like this one. It's sounded like a broken record. I don't like how it competes with using sorcery points. They needed some other resource, but that said that a million times, so we can move on beyond that point. Ignoring that, I really do.
Can we really move on past it? I can't. I'm not making any promises.
Can only say it so many times. Oh, this is nice, but it sucks that he uses sorcery points. Like, yes, we get it.
This is at least at a higher level. I mean, at 14th level, I'm less worried about it.
That's true. Yeah, get 14 sorcery points then.
And worst comes to worst, you get rid of 1 spell slot, like a first level spell slot to do one of these.
Right. Yeah, these are great. I mean, every one of these will come up. They are situational, but you have 4 options. And so I think very frequently you'll see this situation.
I think the only one that's not situational in a good way is the flying speed. Giving yourself a flying speed equal to whatever your walking speed is for 1 sorcery point, that's good. And I can see that being used
super good.
Every combat.
Right.
And being able to do it as well as others just for that 1 bonus action, I mean, that's just good. I don't know. I like it a lot.
It's actually pretty obnoxious because it's just, you have flying speed. End of story. See you in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Right. Then again, there's races that start with the flying speed.
No, there aren't.
And then,
Kevin. And no DM will allow them at the table for a reason.
Yeah, just the Aarakocra.
Because it's annoying.
And
they had there's a tiefling.
There's a tiefling variant with fly.
Okay.
And now in the beginning of Tasha's, like the first thing they did is allow you to swap out ability traits and all that. I don't think we talked about it on the show yet, but where you could pick the Aarakocra and give them charisma and dex or whatever to kind of it makes those combinations a little scary.
I will say though that Aarakocra is, from what I have heard and seen, the most banned race at tables because of that flying speed. It gets rid of a lot of things you'd normally see as problems, and it just is kind of annoying. So I see it a lot. And yes, if you are allowing it, then this can easily get around it. But then, the fly spell's worthless because this person can fly. So I will not take that into consideration. This is a good ability. Can we get some fun graphics, Kevin, when we start making these as videos? Like a big stamp that just says like good ability, and then like little like grunt birthday party.
Yeah, we get back to rating the subclasses.
Yeah,
that I did for 4 episodes.
All right, doesn't seem up to it. The last one too, that being able to squeeze out of things, or I guess not squeeze and change your body shape and everything. That is also really good, being able to get out of non-magical restraints or being grappled. I could very easily see that one coming up.
You know what's really fucked up about that one? Nothing changes. You just get slimy, and now you can go within like inch gaps.
Say that again?
Slimy and pliable.
Yeah. So imagine like just a regular dude sliding through a door.
Right. He just like
terrifying,
like a cat moving through a small area. They just like yeah.
You kind of become part liquid. Yeah, and out of combat, they'll also have a lot of uses as well. Just bypassing things, because
sure,
it was really hard to do back in kind of the times most D&D campaigns take place. Make like super tight tight construction. Everything has gaps. Like a door back then, it could have this like masterwork lock on it, but there's probably going to be an inch gap somewhere.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So definitely some benefits there. Yeah, as a DM, you might be saying like, oh, actually, it's a 3/4 of an inch on this door, but you can give it to them sometimes and say, yeah, it's a 1-inch gap, and sure, go for it. Last one is the Warping Implosion. So this one, as an action, you can teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 120 feet of you. Immediately after you disappear, each creature within 30 feet of the space you left must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 3d10 damage and is pulled straight towards the space you left, ending in an unoccupied space as close to your former space as possible. On a successful save, they take half damage and they're not pulled. You can do that once per long rest, or you can spend 5 sorcery points to use it again. Bad feature.
Yeah, because you have to spend
eventually
more
to make
sorcery
these
points.
stamps. I mean, the once per free is obviously fine.
Sure.
The 5 sorcery points is really steep.
How about the fact that it pulls every creature within 30 feet, not just creatures you choose?
Yeah.
So hope you're not near any of your friends when you want to do your really cool ability, because you're about to do 3d10 force damage to them, which, might I add, at 18th level, not impressive.
No, which is actually, if your 18th level friends get caught in it, they'll probably get over it.
But it's, moving everybody and such. And we saw a lot of great battlefield control spells come out of Explorer's Guide to Wildmount that I really appreciated. And I'm pretty sure, well, maybe they didn't let you choose, I don't care, but those were like really, really awesome spells that said like, yeah, let's move everybody into a tight area and like do all these things that let you set up for an AoE, which I guess this does too, but it's a whole action to do. So unless you have Quickened as a meta magic, which you probably will, you can't
this
really
isn't
do
a
any.
Spell.
It's not a spell. No.
I
I'm saying
I see. Do the spell. Got it.
Yes. Unless you do this as an action and then quicken a good spell to then turn around and do some more damage. And sure, that's a good combo, yes, but it's an 18th level feature. This doesn't impress me in a subclass that has still failed to impress me beyond one feature.
And Thunderstep, a 3rd level spell, does this, and it's actually, in some senses, arguably better because it's just within 10 feet. And the chances are you don't have allies within 10 feet of you.
Right.
It's much more likely to not having allies within 30 feet of you. Yeah, Thunderstep, it's also full action. 3rd level spell.
You can take someone with you too, can't you?
Let's see. Each creature within 10 feet must make a con saving throw or take 3d10. Is this just automatic? Nope, they still make a save.
Yes.
I aberrate the warp or whatever it is. I never mind one. Yeah, Thunderstep's 90 feet, so it's a little less.
Okay.
You can bring along objects as long as their weight doesn't exceed what you carry. You could also teleport, one willing creature of your size or smaller who's carrying gear up to its carrying capacity. Must be
One
within 5
thing
feet of you.
we should point out, and I just checked because we never bring this up, is they all kind of suck at this level. 18th is horrible for sorcerers for some reason, and this really does actually line up quite well with previous abilities.
Sure. That's fair. And
but that's bad. That is
Right.
that is a bad thing. They're
Right.
all bad.
Right. And I don't think that, as I said, if the rest of the subclass was fine and then this was what they got, I don't think I'd be as bothered. But with the rest of it feeling so lackluster, it's like, all right, well, here it is. You finally got to 18th level, and here's something that should maybe have been a spell. There's a better option with Thunderstep, or equivalent option. Sure, it doesn't do the pull-in thing, but that's about it. Otherwise, you said Thunderstep does 3d10? Is it the same amount? Is it 5th level?
That's
Third
level?
Third level spell.
Because this is trying to equate with being a 5th level spell with the 5 sorcery points, I assume? Or maybe 3rd. I don't know how they're doing that math. But 5 still. I'm not going to use this again. It's quite situational because I don't want to do 3d10 damage to my party unless I know they're going to succeed on the strength save and then only take average of 9 damage, and I just don't care about that. But since it's not a spell, you can't even use the Careful ability. I'd rather this be a spell. In the same way that with the new Ranger subclasses, they're like, here's a spell as a class feature. Cast it for free. Have fun. After that, you can cast it using your spell slots. And when you don't use your spell slots, you get these little neat things. Like, they did that correctly with a different subclass. So how did they drop the ball so hard with this one?
Don't know.
I'm going to
also
fight someone over this subclass. I'm mad.
I know a lot of people like it, but yeah, I'm with you. I read through this and felt really disappointed. So I'm hoping we have some listeners who could chime in here. Let us know if you really like it and are excited and think we're completely missing something obvious, which has absolutely happened. Let us know. I'd love to hear. It's like, oh no, if you do this, this, and this, it's actually really great. You just forgot about it. That'd be awesome. Then I could be happy. But I'm not happy about this.
Please give us something to be happy about. Please.
So, and Will, you were saying like the 18th level sorcerer abilities. Some of them are actually really good. Like the Storm Sorcery, you gain immunity to lightning and thunder damage. You also gain a flying speed of 60 feet. And if you want, you can reduce your flying speed down to 30 feet for an hour and give 3 other creatures a 30-foot flying speed. It's like that's actually really good. I think Shadow Magic is good too.
Shadow Magic, you can become incorporeal.
The umbral form.
But it's 6 sorcery points.
6 sorcery points, yeah, and you gain resistance to all damage except for Radiance.
It's okay. If they added
it's not that great.
If they added a once per long rest, you get it for free. I might be interested, but not for 6.
It's just kind of a class-wide train wreck.
But that keeps happening with the Sorcerer. I hate Sorcerer so much.
If only there was a different kind of full caster that also got their spells in a weird way and had Eldritch Blast.
Ooh. Tell me more about this Eldritch Blast.
Oh, that actually would have fixed this. And you have Eldritch Blast. It's like, oh, yeah, all right.
So you're saying a 1-level dip into Warlock fixes this?
A 2-level dip in Warlock fixes every single class in the game.
So you're,
but also, like, unironically, in this case, yes, it would probably fix it.
It would.
Done the Sorcerer Warlock. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure
yes, we did, because we talked about the coffee lock. But Will, I would just like to point out that you are implying that every class besides the Warlock is broken in 5th edition. Do you have any?
Correct.
Okay. Wanted to make sure that was your stance. Any other closing thoughts on the Aberrant Mind?
Nah, I want to like it. I like the flavor. It has some cool situational things. Like Psionic Sorcery will come up and be used some from time to time, but I don't think it's game breaking. And Revelation and In Flesh is nice. I'm sure that will come up a bunch. But overall, I'm not blown away. I don't get the crazy amounts of hype around it.
Will,
It's all
anything?
right. The flavor's great. The stuff is not great, but we went over this. Sorcerer's not that great. So if you want to have fun, have fun.
Okay.
You're not missing anything in the other Sorcerer subclasses.
All right. Well, I read all that one. Kevin, you want to take the Clockwork?
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah.
People are tired of listening to me.
Yep, I'll take Clockwork. Next Sorceress Origin is Clockwork Soul. This is very much related to the idea of Mechanus and the Modrons, but obviously it doesn't have to be, because if your homebrew will doesn't have that, you're just drawing power from
clocks. Fucking love
some
clocks.
Sort of realm of pure lawfulness, or a being that embodies lawfulness. Yeah. So the first thing you get is Clockwork Magic. And this is very similar to the Psionic Magic. You get some free sorcerer spells known, and then as you level up and gain new ones, you could swap some of these out. And this is the exact same thing as a sorcerer, warlock, or wizard spell. The new spell must be Abjuration or Transmutation this time around. My thoughts on this are the exact same thoughts of it for Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, where it doesn't really hit the nail on the head. It makes it more just step on the other class's toes instead of just leaning into what makes Sorcerer is the powerful abilities and being able to modify their spells as needed.
And also, the spells they get are worse.
Yeah, Alarm definitely does come up. But
dude, everybody has
your
Alarm.
Sorcerer. Yeah, I was going to say, that needs to be, like, your wizard.
Also,
should have Alarm, because they got a million different spells anyways.
No. It's worse than that. Alarm is a ritual spell. That's why everybody has it, is because it's a really easy ritual. Takes you 11 minutes to do. Not that bad. Why would you ever waste a spell slot on it?
Yeah.
Because
you can also do the exact same thing with string and bells, which are in the item table.
Right. Not only in that, they're required materials. That's part of the material component.
You have to bring
a tiny bell.
Actual physical alarm. I wonder if it's a spell. Maybe this is just a scam.
So that's always the thing with spells, is that they have the materials are usually like a sort of play. Like, I think for sleep, it's a bit of wool, because it's like counting sheep. Haha, we're so tricksy. So this one literally is what you would use to make an alarm, though. You'd need a lot of wire, but yeah, this doesn't need to be a spell. And taking 11 minutes
you need 80 feet of wire. That's right. This is a thing you do if you sleep in the woods.
Right.
And it takes about a minute, which is the same friggin' amount of time the alarm spell takes. As a ritual, yeah, I could set this up in 10 minutes myself in real life. I just realized how big a scam this spell is.
And it doesn't even need to be silver wire. That's like part of this is a piece of fine silver wire. Like, oh, that sounds difficult to obtain, or like something I have to go out of my way for. I could just get some string. 80 feet of string. Boom. So, yeah, this is awful. The other spell they get, and these are both at first level, Protection from Evil and Good. Also an awful spell.
That sucks too.
No, I like that one.
You're wrong. No. Why do you like it?
Definitely used it a lot. So it's one action, first level spell, lasts for 10 minutes. Someone is then protected against certain types of creatures, aberrations, celestials, elemental, fae, fiends, and undead. You don't have to pick, by the way. Just keep that in mind. It's all of them. So that's pretty wide net. And then the creature who has this, any attack rolls from those type of creatures have disadvantage, and the target cannot be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them, and those are the creature types that do that a lot. And if they're already charmed, frightened, or possessed, then they have advantage on saving throws to end it. Like, that's come up a good handful of times, especially for a first level spell. That's pretty solid. Even just the disadvantage on attack rolls against those creature types.
I think my only issue is that it outlives its usefulness, that it is a really good first level spell, but with it being concentration, you're going to want to concentrate on bigger and badder things. If you were able to upcast it and put it on multiple people, I could see sacrificing your concentration to have your entire party under the effects of this. And then it's a matter of like, oh, gotta keep my concentration. Could you twin it? That could be good. Put it on two
I don't see
people.
why not. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sorcerer point.
yeah, that's good. I would totally do that. Which is basically upcasting it, and that is something that is exclusive to sorcerers. So that's a win, I think. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It's a good low-level spell. I think it's just the concentration tax is a little high.
I agree with that. Oh yeah, then as to go on aid, lesser restoration. Like your sorcerer having lesser restoration just seems. Again, I guess you could twin it, but this is again the type of thing. Like the cleric just has access to.
I think Divine Soul somehow they get their own access to this.
Divine Soul sorcerers get access to the cleric spell list. So yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Dispel magic, protection from energy. Again, they're just a kind of okay, more situational things. They're not what I think of when I think sorcerer. That's for sure. Because there's not a whole lot of ways to kind of modify these and like make these really strong, powerful spells and bend them to your will. They just kind of are what they are, utility spells, which again is stepping on the toes more of the wizards and
that
certain builds.
Said, it is at least a little bit fitting for a Clockwork Sorcerer, where it's all about this idea of like order, the ability to manipulate or like stop magic in some capacity. I'm all right with that. That's at least fitting, but totally in agreement that just giving more spells, steps on the toes of the utility wizards.
Right. Yeah. Also, it's not really a class feature, but the manifestations of order, where this is just when they cast a spell, the spectral cogwheels hover behind you, or floating equations and geometric objects overlay your body. These are it's just a flavor table to roll on, but that's neat. You can also just make these up, obviously. Yeah, in terms of Clockwork Magic and the additional spells, I don't really have much more to say on it. We kind of covered in depth our issues with them with the Aberrant Mind Wizard, or not Wizard, Sorcerer. All right, also then at first level, they get Restore Balance. Your connection to the plane of absolute order allows you to equalize chaotic moments. If a creature within 60 feet of you that you can see is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you could prevent that roll from being affected by advantage and disadvantage. You could use this feature number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain it on a long rest. I think that's solid. I love how it does not use sorcery points.
Yes, totally agree there. One thing to add, it does take your reaction. So that's important to know. I don't think sorcerers are too reaction heavy, but,
no.
There goes your counter spell, I guess.
I like how it's tied to proficiency. This is a good skill to bait some multiclassing.
Yeah.
That's for sure, because it'll just continue to go with you. Advantage and disadvantage doesn't come up so much, where it's, being able to do it at level 1 twice, and then, as you get higher level 4 times or whatever. Per long rest, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is good. I think it'll get use probably every session. I haven't really ever thought about how often advantage and disadvantage are given. It might not be every single session, but when it comes up, the sorcerer is going to use this. And it's a creature within 60 feet, so it's a good range. I'm glad they didn't limit it to within 30 feet or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. It's pretty good.
Then at 6, you get Bastion of Law. You could tap into the grand equation of existence to imbue a creature with a shimmering shield of order. As an action, you expend 1 to 5 sorcery points to create a ward around yourself or another creature within 30 feet. It lasts until you finish until you finish a long rest or use this feature again. It's represented by a number of d8s equal to the number of sorcery points. So if you spend 1 sorcery point, it adds 1d8. Spend 5, it has 5d8. When the creature with the ward takes damage, it can expend a number of those dice, creature's choice, roll them, and reduce damage taken by the total rolled on those dice. It goes back to just the spending sorcery points. Spend 1 sorcery point to reduce 1 hit by 1d8. Is that really worth it? And then being able to reduce a hit by 5d8 starts to become impactful, but is that really worth 5 sorcery points?
Maybe. I don't hate this one as much as some of the other sorcery point taxes. This does actually feel worthwhile, and for that I could see giving up a spell slot in order to get this, because if you gave up second level spell, you get 4 sorcery points back. I forget what the exact equation is. Looking it up now.
Conversing spell slots to sorcery points.
Second level spell slot gives you 3 sorcery points. So if you told me that there was a second level spell that let me put a ward on somebody, what?
Other way around. So a second level spell slot costs you 3 sorcery points. You can spend 1 spell slot. You're trying to create sorcery points.
Yeah, can't you
spend 1 spell slot and gain a number of sorcery points
equal to its level.
It's not balanced.
Right. Never mind. Sorcerer's dumb. But sure, if there was still a second level spell that you had to, that would give you 2d8 to reduce, yeah, that's not as good. If it was 3d8, I'd be up for it, but 2d8, not as interesting.
Countering that, the fact that it's optional and you can use it whenever you want, rather than being just like temporary hit points, is a little compelling.
That's true.
I think.
I don't think that can be ignored.
If you're super squishy or super important, this is one of those situations that could be life or death, and you'll have it during that situation. You're right, though. I don't know if it's the best trade-off.
Yeah, and it feels like there's plenty of spells to avoid damage. I mean, just like take the shield spell instead. And it's like the +5 AC and just avoiding the hit altogether. Granted, that doesn't do anything for saves, but...
You also can't put that on other people. It also takes your reaction. This takes a whole action. But I could see this being used outside of combat since it lasts until a long rest.
Right, put it on someone at the start of the day.
Right. You get out of a nasty combat. The person's low in health. You go, hey, I'm going to give you this ward. Here's 5d8 to reduce some damage if we get into a scrape.
Right.
I don't think it's horrible. I'll agree it's not like amazing, but it's not as bad as any of the aberrant mind features that I disliked. The bar's low because we started with that one.
Right. Yeah, it's situational. I'm not in love with it. I'm not excited about it, but it's not like a terrible feature all around. All right, and then at 14th to get Trance of Order, you gain the ability to align your consciousness to endless calculations of Mechanus. As a bonus action, you can enter the state for 1 minute. For the duration, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage. And whenever you make an attack roll or an ability check or saving throw, you can treat a roll of a 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10. Once you use this bonus action, you can't again until you finish a long rest or spend 5 sorcery points to use it again.
I really like this. I think this is great. I think a bonus action to start it is fantastic. At 14th level, you probably have +9 to your attack rolls, which basically means anything with an AC of 19 and lower, you're going to hit every single time, which means that if you do have your Chromatic Orb, your Scorching Rays, all of those, it's just bring out the big guns and start throwing them.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything else where it's that all D20 rolls basically are treated as a 10 or better. That's pretty crazy. I think it does suffer a little
Barbarians
bit.
have something like that, and I think rogues maybe. Reliable
talent.
Yeah, but that's just like an ability check. This is any D20 roll you make. An attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. I don't think there's anything else that would be outside of that. So that's really awesome. I think this does suffer a bit from something we mentioned earlier. A lot of the really big damaging spells are saves.
Right.
Not attacks. And this doesn't really do anything for that. But yeah, being able to upcast a Scorching Ray to 5th level and get, 5 or 6 beams, each doing 2d6, and getting basically like a guaranteed 19 to hit. That is pretty nice. I mean, in a sense, you could turn like Scorching Ray into a magic missile in the sense of guaranteed hit with the increased damage, though.
And you can still crit.
Yeah.
So you're just 1 in 20 chance it crits. Basically a high chance, because not many things have more than 19 AC. That is not a number you see too often. Right. So, 20 AC and above, that's no. So, yeah, as you said, turning Scorching Ray into a magic missile that can crit, I don't know, that's just good. That's just really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Lets you empower those two with your meta magics. Do some even more damage.
The 5 sorcery point cost is pretty steep, but I do understand why it's basically a once per long rest ability. Like it's kind of good enough for that because it lasts the whole minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see pulling this out twice anyways. And if you do, I don't know, it could be worth sacrificing a 5th level spell for. Like in a situation where this is helpful, where you need to pass some charisma saving throws, and you're a sorcerer, so you've already got, +9 to them, and now you're just straight rolling 19s without a care. That could be useful. Charisma saving throws are usually pretty bad. I don't know. I could see a situation where you're willing to spend those 5 sorcery points. Most likely, you're not going to, because you only need this once per day.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's one of those extra tough days, you got the option to pull it out.
Yeah, just one thing to point out. You keep mentioning spending a 5th level spell slot for doing this or something. It's a bonus action to convert them.
Yep.
So it usually takes more than one turn.
That is correct. Yeah.
So something to keep in mind there. You can't just for free funnel your spell slots to sorcery points and then use them in the same turn.
Yep. Totally fair. Was not trying to imply that, but says to not confuse any listeners. Yeah. Yes, it would take 2 turns in order to get that rolling.
Yeah.
If you were totally out of 5th level spell slots.
Right.
Or sorcery points. Yeah.
But
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Use it, don't use it. I don't care. Move on.
And finally, 18th level, the Clockwork Cavalcade. You summon Spirits of Order to expunge disorder around you. This takes an action. You summon spirits on a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like Mordrons or other constructs of your choice. They are intangible and invulnerable. And they create the following effects in the cube before vanishing. They restore 100 hit points, divided as you choose among any creatures of your choice in the cube. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired instantly, and every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube. You can use this once per long rest, or spend 7 sorcery points to use it again. It's... what?
Go ahead. If you're going to say something negative, though, I'm going to get mad.
No, the 100 hit points is obviously really great. It's really awesome healing. It feels weird for a sorcerer, that's all. That's the only negative, just from a flavor-wise. It's the sorceress 18th level abilities to be really good at healing. It just, I don't know, feels a little odd to me. But mechanically, no, that's fantastic. Basically, once per long rest, heal up to 100 hit points, divided of those around you.
And...
how can you complain about that?
And every spell that's 6th level or lower. I think that can't be forgotten. And I think the way to think about it from a flavor perspective is restoring order.
Right.
So if you are at the point where you need 100 HP spread across everybody, and you've got 6th level spells affecting your friends, it's going to be a chaotic moment. Let's take that chaos, let's bring it back to order, and let's go from there. Right. So I think it's good. I think flavor-wise it's great. Mechanically, it's amazing. And if you needed to spend the 7 sorcery points to use it again, you should, but you're also probably screwed.
Might be worth it. Yeah, this would be one of those where it might be worth it, especially if you compare it to doing a 7th level spell, which you can't even convert those. Actually, I think you're. Oh no, you can. You just can't buy higher than 5th, but you can convert a higher. It's always confusing of how that works while looking at it. But yeah, so a 7th level spell to do 100 hit points of healing and end any spell and repair objects, which is pretty situational, but could be good. That's pretty worth it. There's this a heal spell.
It's called heal.
It's called heal.
Yeah,
70 hit
that's
points.
What I meant. Yeah, 70 hit points. It's a 6th level spell. And yeah, just 70 hit points. And then that just also ends blindness, deafness, and disease. So yeah, comparing it to other kind of comparable things, this is pretty amazing to get for free.
Yeah.
I like to picture the little monodrones, the lowest level Mordrons, the little balls with the single eye and all that, just running out in little Metacats, just patching everybody out.
That sounds adorable. I also like that.
Yeah.
Now, not to completely gloss over this, they do have any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired instantly. Any time that would be useful? I mean, if you needed to repair something, I guess you could use this just to repair something as well. I don't know when that would ever come up.
Yeah. That seems more for the sake of flavor of just restoring order.
Right, sure.
To things. I can definitely see it coming up, but not so much in combat. But honestly, yeah, like the price like relic gets damaged and destroyed. All right, undo it.
Right. Yeah,
things like that. I mean, what if like if someone's house burns down, could you stand in the middle of it, cast this, and
yes, it doesn't even have a time.
Back? I mean,
it doesn't have a time limit.
Yeah.
So as long as the house fits within a 30-foot cube.
Yeah, which I mean, houses back then, not that absurd.
Back then, Kevin, we're playing in a fantasy world. There is no back then.
You know what I mean?
This could be a futuristic setting, Kevin.
I picture like the medieval one-room cottages.
Yes.
Yeah. They were 30-foot cubes, man.
Just like apartment complexes.
Fixing doors, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. If you're getting attacked, a siege of sorts.
Sure.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Yeah, castle walls, things like that. Yeah, even if for a longer repair project, doing this once a day, being able to perfectly and immediately restore everything in a 30-foot cube. Like you could, if it takes you a week to like do like a big big building, that's still quicker than like sending 50 peasants to work on it for a year.
Yeah. And honestly, you could do this a lot of times if, from a totally out of combat perspective, if you were just going to spend all of your sorcery points and all of your spell slots on just repairing things, you get a lot of uses at 18th level.
Yeah. Yeah, help rebuild a town after a siege. Be the good guy.
And that would be healing people as well. Just getting everybody into a broken building and just like, all right, everybody, just shuffle in. I'm going to heal you and repair this building in one go. It's going to be magical.
Yeah. Yeah, this ability, just from like a world building's perspective, it would make these high-level Clockwork Soul sorcerers like a very desired person to have around. Like I could see like the major cities like bidding. I want to
point out that this is an 18th level ability.
I guess
you
any 18th
get 9th level spells at this point. You no longer function within the realm of realistic or normalcy or anything. You're just like a game-breaking, world-breaking creature.
That's very true. That's a very good point.
I wish this building PC that was a 30-foot cube was no longer broken.
But wish that has a chance of fucking up. Like, that's not within the parameters of the spell. And so you may never be able to do wish again. It could damage you. It could go wrong. This, I mean, there's no room for things to go wrong with this.
You gotta, like, sleep for a week after it or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
This is just good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and since, as you mentioned, there's no time limit on, like, when something was damaged. So you find, like, the ancient carved tablets that describe some ritual that's 1,000 years old, but it's been worn down and weathered. Nope, it's good.
DM scratches out 6 pages of notes.
Right.
Forgot you had that spell. Whoops. Though, again, 18th level. Maybe the DM should know that they have that.
Right. Yeah, that is the Clockwork Soul. I definitely like it better than the Aberrant Mind. It's still not like blowing me away. It doesn't fix a lot of the core issues that I think sorcerers have.
But it doesn't cause new ones.
No. Like, I could see possibly playing this at some point. Because I also just kind of like, it has a really good cooked in flavor that mixes perfectly with the mechanics of it. And I always like that.
Right.
And it's not just kind of forced thing or glossed over.
Yeah.
I think it can make a fun character with it.
It's a good, healthy addition to the Sorcerer Origins.
Yeah, that is everything with the new sorcerers. Any final thoughts here?
Not loving the clock theme. I'm not going to lie about that.
I don't blame you.
I'm just not that into clocks. They're like useful in my day-to-day life, but I wouldn't build an identity around them.
Well, it is clockwork.
Right. Say it's around order, which obviously you're not a fan of. That's nothing's new there.
Yeah, all right. But the manifestation
just look at how messy your apartment is.
It's comfy. It's literally a list of clock-themed things. It's just... I don't know, man.
Wait, are we implying that his background is his actual apartment? Is that what we're doing?
Okay. Yeah, that was the joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, in the same way that Aberrant Mind actually doesn't do anything for me, I don't really care about psionics. I don't think they're that interesting. Mind control and mind powers are the opposite of interesting to me. So I guess I went into that class already disliking it. So I get not liking this one from a flavor perspective. I think it's cool, and I think it does a good job of what it's going for.
You could get those cool tattoos where this makes it looks like the outside of it is the skin ripped away, and then you have like gears and clockwork underneath on your arm or something.
Does anyone else like steampunk?
Don't roll your eyes at me.
No, I'm going to roll my eyes at you. But if your character got that, it would be a lot more fitting than the guy who works at Blockbuster.
Yeah. I work at Blockbuster.
No. Are you getting that tattoo?
No.
Okay.
I wish I could work at Blockbuster.
Free VHSs, man.
I don't even know if that's true. I think they're just discounted. I was
no idea.
Never at a point where I was working age and Blockbusters were open, so what do I know?
Right. It's all about the family video now.
Those are closing too.
Are they?
Yeah, they're not doing well. Shocker.
I thought they... We're getting so off topic. I thought they were something... I thought they were a loss leader. They operated at a loss, and like the people who owned the strip malls they were in put them there to attract others because like, hey, here's something people go to.
Yeah, I think...
So if they're closing as a loss leader, you know they're doing bad.
Yeah. I think people are starting to realize that getting people out to stores, you're going to need a lot more than videos, because I have a billion movies I can watch from the comfort of my couch.
Yeah. So yeah, D&D. I think that was one of the more off-topic tangents.
That's okay. But the last movie I actually rented from Family Video was Predator. So we can talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger if you guys want.
The original or the remake?
Predator 2.
All right.
I don't even know if he's in that one. I forget. It doesn't matter.
I don't think
You can't let my joke getting us off topic actually get us off topic, Will. Just gotta ignore it and move on. Alright, so that is everything around the new Sorcerer subclasses and class variant features in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. If you liked what you saw, check out our other episodes and small pieces as we have more of these videos. You can find us on Twitter, find us on Reddit, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. That feels weird to say.
There you go.
But I gotta say it. You gotta say it.
That's the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
You gotta like and subscribe and ring that bell.
Oh yeah, ring the bell! Ring the fucking bell! Sorry guys. We gotta do it.
Yeah, it's YouTube now.